The text from my sister Victoria arrived on a Wednesday afternoon, 3 days before Easter. Hey, Emma. About Sunday's brunch at Mom and Dad's. Maybe sit this one out. Derek just made VP at Silvercrest Capital, and the partners will be there. Your situation would be awkward. You understand, right? I read it twice, seated in my corner office on the 47th floor of Pinnacle Tower. Beyond the glass walls, 83 employees moved across the open floor of the fintech company I'd founded 6 years earlier. Engineers, analysts, product leads, people building the platform that had just closed a $180 million Series C. The company Forbes had recently called the most disruptive force in institutional investment technology. My situation. I typed back a single word. Okay. Victoria had no idea what I did. None of them did. When I'd left home at 22 with a computer science degree and $3,000 in savings, my family had quietly written me off. I was the one who couldn't handle real pressure, the one who'd chosen some tech thing instead of joining Dad in commercial real estate or following Victoria into wealth management like respectable people did. For 6 years, I let them believe it. At holidays, I said I worked in software development and changed the subject. When Victoria bragged about her analyst role at Morgan Stanley, I congratulated her. When Dad talked about cap rates and properties, I smiled and nodded. I wasn't hiding. I was building. And I'd learned early that family who never believed in you don't suddenly start once you succeed. They just find new ways to minimize it. My company, Quantum Financial Systems, had transformed how institutional investors managed algorithmic trading. Our AI platform processed $4.2 billion daily across 47 countries. We'd secured contracts with 3 of the world's top 10 investment firms. Current valuation, $680 million. But to my family, I was still Emma who does computer stuff. The pattern went back years. Victoria had always been the golden child, effortlessly charming, socially perfect, praised for everything. I was the quiet one. The kid who preferred code to parties. The one who asked uncomfortable questions. Emma's difficult. Mom liked to tell relatives. Always has been. At 16, I won first place at the state computer science competition, along with a $10,000 scholarship. Victoria drove me there. Spent the entire event scrolling on her phone. Then said on the way home, "It's kind of sad how you need these little tech trophies to feel special." Dad didn't attend at all. Real business happens in boardrooms, he told me later, not computer labs. I chose State University for its top-tier CS program, not because I couldn't do better. I graduated summa cum laude at 21. My parents showed up for the ceremony, then left before the departmental awards. "We have dinner plans," Mom said. "Victoria's boyfriend is in town." After graduation, I worked at a major investment bank for 14 months. Long enough to understand their systems, long enough to see the inefficiencies, long enough to realize I could build something better. I quit on a Tuesday. Told my parents on Wednesday. Endured Dad's 40-minute lecture on stability, responsibility, and disappointment. "You're making a mistake," Victoria said. "But that's you, Emma, always thinking you know better." She wasn't wrong. I started Quantum in my 600-square-foot apartment with 2 co-founders, Marcus and Priya, who believed in the vision when I pitched it over coffee. The first year nearly broke us. 16-hour days, ramen dinners, maxed-out cards. We survived 11 months on the edge of collapse. Then came our first client. A mid-size investment firm, a pilot contract. Within 3 months, their trading efficiency jumped 34%. 6 months later, they signed a $2.3 million annual deal. That was 5 years ago. Since then, Series A, $23 million. Series B, $67 million. Series C, $180 million. Total raised, $270 million. Valuation, $680 million. My equity, 42%. On paper, I was worth $285 million at 28. 4 months earlier, Forbes ran a feature titled, "The 28-Year-Old Revolutionizing Institutional Finance." I mailed the magazine to 3 people, Marcus, Priya, and my former professor. Not my family. What would that have changed? Victoria kept texting through the week. Thanks for understanding about Sunday. Derek's sensitive about appearances. Mom's making lamb. You're not missing much, lol. I didn't reply. Instead, I focused on Tuesday's investor meeting. Silvercrest Capital is interested in licensing our platform. James, my head of business development, said. They manage $47 billion in assets. Deal could be $15 to $20 million a year. Who's attending? I asked. He glanced at his notes. Derek Morrison, VP of Alternative Investments. Susan Park, Head of Technology. And Richard Grantham, Managing Director. My fingers stilled. Derek Morrison? Yes. Why? No reason, I said smoothly. Just confirming. Derek Morrison. Victoria's fiance. The man whose promotions made my presence awkward. I didn't say another word. I just prepared. I clicked to the next slide. We currently serve 34 institutional clients, including Baxton Group, Meridian Capital, and Fortress Investments. Combined, they process $4.22 billion daily through our platform across 47 countries. Richard leaned forward. What's your average contract value? Annual licensing ranges from $8 to $24 million, depending on asset volume and customization. For Silvercrest's portfolio size, full platform access with dedicated support would be approximately $18 million annually. Derek made a sound, sharp, involuntary, like the air had been knocked out of him. Richard glanced at him, then back to me. That aligns with our budget. Susan nodded. Let's see the interface. Of course. I gestured to Priya. The center screen shifted to a live demo. For the next 40 minutes, I walked them through everything: AI learning curves, predictive models, real-time risk mitigation, layered security architecture. I answered every technical question before it fully formed. Derek didn't speak once. He just stared at me, pale now, like he was trying to reconcile two impossible versions of the same person. At 11:40, Richard stood and offered his hand. Emma, this is exactly what we've been looking for. Susan nodded. More robust than the other vendors. I recommend moving forward with a pilot. Agreed, Richard said. 6 months starting Q3. If results match projections, we transition to a full contract. I stood and shook his hand. We'll have a formal proposal by the end of the week. Excellent. He turned to Derek. You've been quiet. Any concerns from alternative investments? Derek swallowed. No concerns. It's impressive. Richard checked his watch. Let's debrief downstairs. James escorted them out. I stayed behind, closing my laptop. When I looked up, Derek had stopped in the doorway. Richard and Susan were already at the elevators. Emma, he said quietly, does Victoria know? Know what? That he gestured vaguely at the office. The glass walls, the scale of it all. That you're a CEO. That your company is worth, Forbes said, $680 million? I smiled faintly. You read the article. It's on your wall. Yes. Does she know? He asked again. Victoria knows I work in software development. She's never asked for more. Neither has anyone else. He hesitated. She told me you had an entry-level IT job. That you lacked ambition. That you were the family disappointment. Did she? She uninvited you from Easter. Said your job would embarrass me in front of my partners. Yes, I got the text. I picked up my laptop. Your partners were just here. Were you embarrassed? Color rushed into his face. No, obviously not. This is massive, he said quickly. If Richard finds out that my own sister didn't want me at brunch because of how my job looked, I finished. I stepped toward my office. At the door, I turned back. Here's what happens next. Your team submits a formal RFP by Friday. We respond by Wednesday. You conduct 3 weeks of due diligence. Then you offer a 6-month pilot worth roughly $5.8 million, transitioning to $18 million annually. I paused. That's our professional relationship. As for Easter brunch, that's between you and Victoria. But you might want to consider what it says about someone who judges a sibling's worth without ever asking a single question. I smiled politely. Enjoy your debrief, Derek. I closed the door. If you've ever been judged by people who didn't know the full story, you know, the reveal is always sweet. For 3 days, nothing happened. No calls, no texts, the silence said enough. Friday at 4:47 p.m. Silvercrest's formal RFP landed in James's inbox. Professional, thorough. Derek copied but not leading. I approved the response and moved on. Tuesday at 8:15 a.m. My phone rang. Victoria. Hi, I said. We need to talk. Okay. Derek told me about the meeting. Good. Silence. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. About the company, the money, Forbes. I didn't hide anything. I worked. You let us think you were nobody. For 6 years, I said I worked in technology. No one ever cared enough to ask more. You should have told us anyway. Why? Because we're family. The family that uninvited me from Easter because my job would embarrass your fiance? Silence. On Wednesday, I said calmly, you told me my situation was awkward. On Tuesday, Derek signed an RFP that could bring $18 million a year to my company. Which situation was awkward? That's not fair. What's not fair is judging me for 6 years without ever knowing me. She started to speak. I have a meeting, I said. Goodbye. The calls came fast after that. Mom, Dad, voicemails full of urgency and disbelief. Victoria texted, why aren't you answering? I replied, I'm working. At 4 p.m. Marcus appeared at my door. Your dad's in reception. I looked up. Send him back. 2 minutes later, Dad stepped into my office and stopped cold. The height, the windows, the city below, the Forbes cover. Emma, he said quietly. Hi, Dad, would you like to sit? He did. Victoria told me something impossible, did she? She said you own a company, that you're the CEO, that you're worth. He stopped himself. It can't be true. I gestured around the office. This is Quantum Financial Systems. I founded it 6 years ago with 2 partners from university. We build AI-driven algorithmic trading platforms for institutional investors. We serve 34 clients across 47 countries and process $4.2 billion daily. The company's current valuation is $680 million. I own 42%. I paused. Forbes featured us 4 months ago. Dad stared at me, unblinking. Why didn't you tell me? I did. 6 years ago. I told you I was starting a technology company. You gave me a 40-minute lecture about stability and disappointment. That's not, Emma. I thought you meant some little app or side project. This is serious business. Yes, it is. You should have explained you were building something real. I leaned forward. At what point in the last 6 years did you ask me a single question about my company? Not once did you say, how's your business going? Or tell me about your work. You decided it wasn't important. That's not my failure to explain, it's your failure to be interested. His face flushed. Don't speak to me like a successful CEO speaking to someone who dismissed her without knowing any facts. I continued, evenly. I've been patient. I've been polite. I've attended family gatherings where Victoria bragged about her promotions and you talked about your properties. I never mentioned that my company's quarterly revenue exceeds both of your annual incomes combined. I let you believe whatever you wanted because it was easier than defending myself to people who had already decided I was a failure. We never said you were a failure. Last Thanksgiving, you introduced me as Emma, who does something with computers. You hosted a dinner when Victoria became a senior analyst. When I closed a $180 million Series C, you didn't know it happened because you never asked. Dad stood abruptly. This is absurd. You're upset because we didn't celebrate you. No, I said calmly. I'm done pretending that your lack of interest in my life is my responsibility to fix. Emma, I need to get back to work. If you'd like a real conversation about my company, my work, or my life, you're welcome to schedule time. But I won't defend my success. Not to you. Not to Victoria. Not to anyone. His jaw tightened. Your mother expects you at Sunday dinner. Does she expect me? I asked. Or does she expect a version of me she can brag about? He didn't answer. I'll think about it, I said. Thank you for stopping by. He left without another word. If you've ever had to set boundaries with family who suddenly care once success becomes visible, you know, this is the hardest part. The weekend was relentless. Calls from Mom, texts from Victoria, even Aunt Linda, silent for 3 years, messaged, saw the Forbes article, so proud, let's catch up. I answered none of them. Saturday was spent at the office with Priya and Marcus, reviewing Q3 expansion. Sunday, at home, reading, with my phone face down. Monday morning, James appeared in my doorway, grinning. Silvercrest sent the pilot contract. $5, $8 million for 6 months starting July 1st. Derek called personally to confirm. Send it to legal. Already done. He hesitated. Derek wants to meet one-on-one about implementation. Schedule a formal meeting. Conference room. Full team. No exceptions. James nodded and left. At 11 a.m., Victoria called. On the 8th ring, I answered. I'm sorry, she said quickly, for Easter, for dismissing you, for judging you without knowing anything. Okay. I didn't know. You didn't ask. Those aren't the same. She exhaled. You're right. Derek's been very clear about how badly I messed up. His partners are asking why I didn't even know what my sister did. I waited. Are you apologizing because you're sorry? I asked. Or because this affects your relationship with Derek? Silence. Both, she admitted. Is that awful? It's honest. I accept your apology, I said. But understand this, I didn't build this company to prove anything to you or Mom or Dad. I built it because I saw a problem and knew how to solve it. I worked 80-hour weeks for 6 years without your support or interest. So when you say you're sorry for not knowing, what you really mean is you're sorry you got caught not caring. That's harsh. It's true. Another pause. What do I do now? She asked. You decide who you want to be. You can care about me because my success is impressive, or you can care about me regardless of it. But you can't pretend it's both. I won't decide for you. I have a meeting, I said. Take care, Victoria. I hung up.